Hello everyone, my name is Fear Dragon and welcome to the stream. We are going to be jumping into the After Hours Gaming League week number 9 for season number 4. It is going to be Team Amazon versus Team Chopper Trading. And this is going to be a very interesting match because it's actually the last match before the playoffs. Time has really flown by in the After Hours Gaming League season 4, and I am really interested to see how this is going to go because Team Amazon, they are sitting at actually a pretty comfortable 6-2 right now. They are actually already guaranteed to qualify for the playoffs. Basically, there's going to be 16 teams total in the playoffs, 6 of which will qualify from each division. So a total of 12 teams qualify from each division, the top 6 teams. And on top of that, there are 4 more teams that can qualify. 16 minus 12 is equal to 4. I'm not that bad at math. But the way that they have to qualify is through a series of FFAs, free-for-all matches, and that can be a very, very unreliable way to qualify. And I will say that, Amazon, they're qualified. They're going to be giving it their all just more for pride, for glory, for all that kind of stuff, maybe even seeding. But, of course, Chopper Trading, they're sitting at actually 5-3. They're on the very verge. If they can get this one more win, they can actually just qualify for the playoffs, not have to worry about it, don't have to worry about any kind of extra games that have to be played, but otherwise they will have to play in those FFAs. So it is going to be very, very important for them to actually make sure they can qualify by just winning this one series against Amazon. Now, both of these teams, for anyone who doesn't know, Amazon and also Chopper Trading are competing in the After Hours Gaming League for a bit of a prize, but it's not a prize for themselves. They're actually competing for the respective charities that each one of them have chosen. Now, Amazon has chosen Child's Play charity, so basically if they win the entire AHGL, then a bunch of money will be donated to Child's Play charity. It's a charity that actually provides a lot of games and just relief to children in hospitals who are in really, really desperate and not exactly the best situation, so it's a really, really great charity organization. Now, Chopper Trading also donating to a really, really fantastic charity known as Big Brothers and Big Sisters. A lot of people may be familiar with it. It's the mentoring program where children and kids are assigned an adult mentor known as Bigs and Littles. So a lot of people are familiar with that one. It's a really, really great charity as well. It really helps kids between the age of 6 to 18 kind of grow up with some sort of mentor to look up to. But with that being said, really great causes. Definitely go ahead and check out all the different teams in the AHGL and see who is actually supporting the cause that you want to support. And you can go root for that team because then that charity will receive money. It's a win-win, win-win-win. Because it's a best of 5. I don't know. But guys, we were just waiting for this first game to get started. It looks like they're waiting on a couple of people to just say that they're ready. As we already know, actually, with the AHGL format, it's basically a pro league style format. That means that people know who they're going to be facing. The first game in this best of 5 is going to be from Team Amazon, Zimbaus, the Protoss player, versus Undirected, the Zerg player from Team Chopper Trading. Now, a bit of interesting stats about this. First of all, they're going to be playing Alterzim Stronghold, which is an enormous map. A lot of people like to say that this sort of favors Zerg players because it's very difficult for Protoss players to make those kind of big push-outs happen. It's also a very big map in the sense that there's a lot of open spaces that Zerg players can find all kinds of surrounds on. Protoss players have to throw down a lot of force fields to kind of defend against those big Zergling surrounds, Hydrals, Roach, etc. surrounds, and they just don't have the energy for it. But beyond that, Zimbaus is currently sitting 2-2 actually in the AHGL, 1-0 in PvZ though, which is going to be the matchup we're going to be seeing him fight today. So he's doing relatively well. He's par for the course, and PvZ definitely one of the matchups that he feels comfortable at least winning some games in. And of course, Undirected from Team Chopper Trading is going to be sitting at 0-2 actually, and 0-1 in ZVP. So not exactly the best run for Undirected in the AHGL, but still, I mean, it's hard to always say that because that's a pretty small sample size of just 2 games. It's really hard to get a feel for how good he actually could be. And people are asking me in chat requests. Minimal chat request unless it's funny. That's the way I'm going to do it. Minimal chat unless it's a funny comment, because we love funny comments and I will be trying to read them. Alright, but we are actually going to be seeing the game get started pretty soon. And as soon as it does get started, we're going to find out who is going to be able to take this first game. Now, it's a best of 5, so that means that you need to win 3 games total throughout the entire potential 5-game series to take the series. And what that means is that that first game is a real big momentum setter. If you win that first game, now all you have to do is just obviously win 2 more games, but that means that you can also suffer 2 losses. The other team can only lose 1 game. Their availability for leniency in how many games they lose just really severely gets cut down. So it's really important to win this first game. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm really excited. Also because I actually have a bunch of new map intros that I'm gonna be rolling for the very first time. I'm really excited to see how they go. And let me know what you guys think. It's a huge shout out to Coulter TV for actually making these map intros. But with that being said, the game is finally getting started. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. I will see you guys in just a little bit. Okay guys, that map intro didn't take quite as long as I thought it would because people take forever to load, but guys, we are finally in the game, so let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players for this game number 1 as we spawn up here in the top left-hand corner of the map on top of the orange Protoss player representing Team Amazon. It is Amazon's Zimbaus. And his opponent spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, spawning as the pink Zerg player, representing Chopper Trading. It is Undirected. And this is going to be a pretty awesome game because, again, Ultrazine Stronghold is an enormous map, but there's also a couple other interesting features about it. First of all, there is this very easy to take natural expansion, especially for a Protoss player. I thought we judged the victor, but what has been proven to be a nearly perfect indicator of victory anyway, says Catfish. Total gas mine. Now, I'm a terrible observer, and I actually don't know where the total gas mine setting is. But so far, you can see that the gas income is sitting at 0. So Catfish, I'm not sure if that's going to be able to tell us a whole lot yet. But I will say again, there are those very easy to take natural expansions. It's basically a safe natural expansion. It's safe in the sense that there's no ground method of getting there unless you go through the main base. Now look at this, Zimbaus actually sending out a fairly early probe scout right after that pylon and actually getting very, very lucky with the actual scouting locations, finds his opponent immediately, and on a huge map like this, that can actually make a huge difference because this means that Zimbaus' probe gets to be so annoying, he gets to make sure, okay, you're actually going to be throwing down a hatchery, right? And of course, Undirected has no idea. He's actually sent out his overlords. He's actually not sending them out very far out on the map. So he's not going to see his opponent for a very long time. These overlords are kind of lazy. They're like, oh, we don't want to get too homesick. It's like going off to college, as I'm sure all the people in the AHGL know about that. Most of them have at least completed some sort of college degree and are now working at very prestigious companies. But I mean, it's like going off to college. You don't actually want to go too far away from home. Zimbaus' probe is like the one that's like wants to get away from home, wants to get away from his parents, and just flies across the country, maybe even goes for a bit of a study abroad in like London. And these overlords are the ones that are like, we'll stick around to like an okay university like nearby. We don't really want to go too far from home. But you know, Undirected looks like he is finally getting up that spawning pool. Back at home, we have Zimbaus going for a somewhat of a gateway expansion, but this is actually a Nexus first, and this is actually a pretty acceptable thing to do given the fact that Undirected hasn't really been going for scouting, and Zimbaus knows exactly what his opponent has been up to. You can see, okay, spawning pool is only just now going to be finishing up a little bit before the actual hatchery, the natural expansion hatchery, but when is Zimbaus going to notice that the third expansion is being taken? This is a pretty normally timed third expansion, so nothing really too crazy going on in this game yet. But honestly, again, Ultrazine Stronghold, I cannot emphasize this enough. It's an enormous map, and all kinds of crazy shenanigans go on. And oh, what is it, this wall-in from Zimbaus? I think this has so many holes. This is like a sponge right now. I mean, there is a hole right here. I think there may be a hole right here, and I'm pretty sure there's a hole right here. That could actually prove to be very, very troublesome. As troublesome as the lag from Chashui from Team Amazon, I believe the captain of Team Amazon, also known as James, also known as Jams. Did he hit the power? Has this happened before? I'm actually really curious now if this has happened before, and if he's accidentally hit his power button before. But yeah, guys, I was saying, Alterzim Strongholds is a very big map, so if we end up seeing Zimboss trying to go for some kind of early aggression on this map, it could be very difficult to make actually work out very easily. And the reason for that is because you obviously have to walk this long distance across the map. That obviously just increases the amount of time that the Zerg player has to get off those final injects, to get off those final wave of units, to get up the defense, maybe even buy an extra 15-20 seconds while you see your opponent move out, because you just need like one Zergling or two Zerglings over here, and you can see your opponent move out. That means that you have a good 30 to 40 seconds before you can actually have to get any units up. That means that's actually enough time to build a couple of spine crawlers reactively, just saying, oh, you're about to go for some sort of push out across the map, let me make some spine crawlers. And it really does help out a Zerg player. Now, luckily for Zimboss, this is not a cross spawn position, where that would actually just be like the travel against across like the world. It'd be like Christopher Columbus journeying to America to assault the Native Americans, and it's not going to work out. Native Americans just have so much time to repair. I know that this example doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but really, we're kind of just waiting to see what what the tech choice is going to be for both these players. Now, we actually do have the Stargate being thrown down for Zimboss. Now, this is a smart decision. You can kind of run straight across the map with either an Oracle opening or a Phoenix opening. It's up to the player on which one they decide to do, and I am almost certain that there is a gap right here. It looks like one of the gaps got walled off by this gateway, a very interesting wall off indeed. I guess he could throw down one more gateway right here and eventually wall that off, but not going to be doing that for now. And yeah, it looks like he almost threw down the gateway. This is really interesting. I guess he could just plant the Stalker right here in hold position or something, but regardless, what I was saying is that the Stargate does allow you to move across the map and put on some nice aggression very early on. Zealot and Stalker are actually going to be moving out, and the Mothership Core are actually a bit further delayed. Zimboss tried to go for a very fast Stargate, because again, it's a big map. You want to be able to get your units out across to the other side of the map as fast as possible, and the way that Zimboss is doing that is he's cutting that Mothership Core for a little bit. It's only just not going to be coming out. It's not going to be able to help out with the Zealot Stalker aggression, but the Stargate unit is going to be arriving very early, and we might end up seeing that Undirected will not be prepared for it, because you can see right now he's not exactly expecting anything of the sort. He has a Roach worn down. He's getting up his gas guys. He doesn't have any kind of Spore Crawlers up or anything, but the Oracle's already very close to the other side of the map. We see a couple of Spine Crawlers actually going down for Undirected. Undirected sitting at a total of 2 Zerglings, 3 Roaches on the way, but actually with the Oracle, the Zealot, and the Stalker coming up, this could be a lot of trouble for Undirected. The 2 Zerglings immediately going to get taken out by that single Zealot and the Stalker. The Oracle also doing some nice damage, already up to 5 kills. A lot of those actually drone kills. A single Roach going to be coming out, but he is actually not actually fighting this army over here. I don't even know if I should call this an army. This is an Alpha Strike Squad, just dropping their way across the map and really just doing a substantial amount of damage. Only 2 more Roaches left over, but 6 Roaches about to pop. That actually could be pretty troublesome for Zimboss, as I don't think that the Mothership Core is actually making... Oh no, the Mothership Core is right over here, and it looks like the Stalker is going to try and retreat its way back to the safety of that Mothership Core in case these Roaches decide to get a little bit too aggressive. He can always recall his way back over, but behind this, Zimboss is establishing that 3rd expansion, a very critical part of his game plan, and establishing it well before the 10-minute mark, good minute or so ahead. So he's going to actually be pretty fine on that timing, and he's going to continue to get up a couple of Phoenix. That's going to allow him to seize a little bit of map control, obviously being able to shut down some of those Overlords. And you know what? I'm actually starting to wonder if maybe Undirected kept his Overlords at home now, because you can see, again, he literally didn't send any Overlords across the map. This is his vision of the map right now. And if you think about it, Phoenixes basically just get free pickings on any Overlords out on the map. And on a map like Ultraseam Stronghold, I really do like the choice of Stargate. So Undirected may have been saying, hey, you know what? I really dislike Stargate units on this map, so I'm just going to go ahead and not send my Overlords out. I don't need to scout with them. I can scout with some Zerglings and some drones. It's totally fine. And, I mean, he's going to be taking a little bit of annoying damage over here, but honestly, these are mostly roaches. There's a handful of drones that may end up losing their lives over here, but it's going to actually be pretty difficult. But, oh, Queen actually going to be wailing away at those Phoenix, but the Overlord is actually taking a pretty good amount of damage over here. Might end up losing one of those, and that could actually supply block him. Almost. It's an almost supply block. He doesn't have any Overlords on the way, and he only has 3 supply left over before Spore Crawler is going down, and more drones being killed off, actually kind of weirdly alleviating the supply block for a little bit, but oh, still no Overlords on the way. Now he's sitting at 70 of 70 supply. That's going to be very, very annoying. That's going to give Zimbaus a chance to get a little bit further ahead. I mean, we take a look at the worker count. It's 40 drones to 48 probes. So that early damage that Zimbaus is able to do has really, really kind of messed with Undirected. Not only did he kill off a handful of 14 workers, that is actually a substantial number of workers, but he's also just kind of thrown Undirected a little bit for a loop in the sense that he's not really on top of his game. He's kind of missing some of those Overlords. He lost one of them to the 2 Phoenixes, and he just kind of got supply block, delayed his production for a little bit. Now he's throwing down a Spire attack, which is going to be a really weird decision because he knows that his opponent has Phoenix already and is still producing Stargate units. But it's still very, very weird. In the meanwhile, you can see Zimbaus sitting at almost 100 supply in comparison to Undirected, who's sitting at an 85 supply. You have to remember, he actually has roaches, 10 roaches on the map, which are not exactly supply efficient. And look at this, Zimbaus actually doing some nice pressure with these 3 Void Rays and the Phoenix, still keeping alive both of those Phoenix with some really good control. And honestly, Undirected is in a lot of trouble right now. The Spire is going to be finishing up very soon. He could make Corruptors or Mutalisks. And he actually has a little bit of gas saved up as well as a lot of minerals. Oh my god, look at that mineral bank right now, 2,700. You can just see that Zimbaus has been doing a really good job kind of keeping Undirected a little bit preoccupied, I should say. He has not been able to do what he normally wants to do. He's not really playing at probably what he considers the top of his game. And he's struggling a little bit. He's getting out some Mutals. The Mutals are going to be very, very strong against these Void Rays. One of the Phoenix are already very low in health as well. But the natural expansion is going to end up falling. And that is going to be really, really brutal. Even another Queen may end up falling. Oh, God. We still have 4 Queens out on the map. But honestly, it's not even so much of a problem of, oh, we don't have enough Queens to inject. Is we don't have enough actually hatcheries around to inject. And once again, getting a little bit of lag. Team Amazon really having a lot of trouble. Rage Kage saying, our team 2-day ships. I guess maybe they should order some of that 1-day shipping, man, because it's not working out too well for Team Amazon in terms of the connections. I don't know, maybe Amazon does have a lot of different products that they're kind of working on. Maybe they should go into internet bandwidth capabilities for all their players. But yes, it's going to be a very difficult situation for Undirected at this point. He's going to get out the Mutalisks, and you can see that he's kind of, for the most part, spent his gas bank. He still has 100 gas left over, so he can pop out one more Mutalisk once the, I guess, Divide by Zero finally gets kicked out of the game. But here's the problem, guys, is that there aren't actually that many Mutalisks. There's like 10 or 11 Mutalisks. 10 or 11 Mutalisks, that's an okay amount. It could probably deal with these Void Rays, and actually, with such a long map distance, he actually could probably pick off the Void Rays. But it's still very, very difficult, because, yeah, this one Phoenix is also going to be able to kill off a couple of these Mutalisks. Oh my god, already killing off 1 Mutalisk or 2 Mutalisks, I think, alongside the Void Rays. There's still 7 or 8 Phoenix, but this isn't really going to be able to do a whole lot of damage over at Zimbaus's base. I mean, look at this cannon defense. 4 cannons over at the 3rd expansion. We don't actually have any cannons in the main base, but there's double Stargates producing Phoenix now that he's seen those Mutalisks out. And the natural expansion is already getting up a couple of pylons. I expect to see maybe 1 or 2 cannons being thrown down there as well, because honestly, Zimbaus has a pretty powerful economy and can actually afford to use up some of those minerals on, you know, those cannons. It's not really going to be the place where he's limited. You can see that actually he does actually need a little bit more minerals. He's building up quite a bit of a gas counter. I'd love to see him maybe get out Templar Archives or something. I mean, he has the Twilight Council, and just looking at the upgrades right now, we have +1 weapons done. No air weapons or anything done just yet, but he's researching +1 air weapons, researching +2 ground weapons as well. But Undirected, I mean, he's taking so much damage to his economy and everything between the early game, the mid game, that he hasn't really had the chance to get up any kind of upgrades, I don't believe. The Roach is sitting at 0-0, the Mutals sitting at 0-0, reestablishing that natural expansion. Undirected is going to have to take a risk. He has to take a big risk to make something happen, some sort of miracle magic happen. I would love to see something like, I don't know, a triple expand. I mean, you have the minerals, you're not really spending them right now because you just don't have the larva at this point. Honestly, he does not have the larva. And what he could do is take this expansion. Awesome. Take these 2 expansions. What is your opponent going to do about it? I mean, your opponent has an army of, yeah, Stalkers are kind of mobile, Archons, Sentries, Zealots, Void Rays. The Phoenixes are honestly the most mobile part of this entire force. But you take those expansions at the bottom right, first of all, they're likely not going to get scouted. And second of all, it's going to be very difficult for the first player to ever do anything about it. Oh god, the Mutals all losing their lives. 2 of these Phoenixes, there's just not a whole lot they can do. They should really just turn around and fight at this point. I mean, they're basically, their lives are forfeit. The 2 do manage to get away. Our Queen gonna get picked up by these Phoenix. Zimbal's doing a great job just controlling this game right now. And undirected seems a little bit undirected in terms of not being sure what to do. I mean, he's trying to get up more Mutalists, but Mutals, I'm not sure if that's the best response right now. Maybe get out some Hydros, maybe, I don't know, just get out more Queens. Queens are actually a great answer right now to these Phoenix, because Queens are going to be helpful. They're going to be tanky, so they can lay down transfuses on top of Roaches. They can deal with those Phoenixes because they have a lot of health, and they can obviously transfuse each other. And even against Stalkers, Queens with good transfuse micro can actually do relatively well against Stalkers. They have good range against the Void Rays. They're pretty tanky against the Zealots. I mean, they're actually just a pretty solid unit choice if you can get out as many as possible, but again, he's sitting at 40 drones after all this, and you know what? It's not even a matter of, oh, he needs to drone up somewhere right now. No, he can't afford to drone up right now. He is constantly in danger of being attacked by this enormous Protoss force that he's seen from Zimbos. And what does he do? Does he stop making units and start droning up? Because as soon as that happens, Zimbos pushes across the map and just goes and guts his opponent. And that's going to actually be happening very soon regardless, actually, just because we're seeing Zimbal sitting up at 175 supply to the 91 of the Zerg player from Team Chopper Blocked, or sorry, Chopper Trading. Chopper Trading going to be in a lot of trouble right now and here in game number 1. And again, this is a very pivotal game. This is the game that decides who has the momentum swinging in their favor. All the players are watching this. It's not like all the players are just playing independently. It's maybe a 1 versus 1 game, but it's very much a team-oriented matchup and series because there's momentum dictated by, oh, my teammate just got kind of murdered in that last game. Oh man, how exactly am I going to be able to win this? A lot more pressure, you realize, starts residing on your shoulders, and it can be difficult. It can be difficult to deal with. So is Team Chopper Trading going to be able to deal with it moving into the next game if they end up losing this game? Honestly, it's looking incredibly grim. I don't know, actually, at this point, what Undirected can actually do to come back. If he does make something happen, it's going to be a gosh darn miracle. He has an Infestation Pit done, and it's actually going up to Hive Tech. I don't see any Infestors out right now. No Infestors out. And does he actually have... I actually can't check. Well, let's see. No, he doesn't have the Infestor upgrade, the Pathogen Glands upgrade that gives him Infestors with immediate enough energy to actually throw out fungal growth, so no use in even making Infestors at this point. The army is already moving out across the map, and Undirected, honestly, is just going to be in so much trouble right now. There's not even a Queen over here to inject it. They are all just ready for battle. This is going to be the final stand of Undirected, and you can see the Protoss Armada of Phoenix Stalkers, High Templar Stalker, Archons, Zealots, everything just charging in, lifting up the Queens, massacring everything, storming his own Zealots because why not? And GG gets called. Team Amazon going to be taking game number 1. And a very, very solid series, or game, I should say, from Team Amazon. And also, I mean, Chopper Trading played pretty well in that game, but unable to really do a whole lot with it. I honestly think that it kind of comes back down to that early aggression, that Zealot Stalker Oracle aggression that really, I feel, threw Undirected kind of for a loop. He wasn't prepared to deal with it. And once your build order is messed up, sometimes it's just really hard to get back into the groove of it. I mean, it's like if any of you have ever played DDR, when you play DDR, you don't just miss a note or like miss one of the steps. You miss one of the steps, and then you try and do that step a little bit later, and you realize that it's like there's no point because it's already too late, but you still do it anyways. And then you end up missing like the next 5 steps. You're just set behind. You're kind of messed with. You're like, oh man, I have to concentrate. All right, I have to stop and focus. And you keep missing notes over there while you're trying to sit there and focus and like regroup and get everything together. and you just end up a lot further behind. I feel like that was exactly what happened to Undirected from Team Chopper Trading. So it's a very difficult situation to have that happen. But honestly, it's okay. Like, it happens. Zimboss definitely put on some really cool aggression over there and doing things like skipping the Mothership Core to go for a faster Stargate to get off that faster Oracle, even on a map like Ultraseam Stronghold. Obviously hitting Undirected a little bit when he was unprepared. Was able to take that game. So now Team Amazon sitting up 1-0 versus Chopper Trading. And we already know, actually, who's going to be coming out next. This isn't like an all-kill style format for the GSL, the GOM TV, or sorry, Global Star League, Team League, or whatever. Basically, that means that we already know who's going to be coming out next. And it's going to actually be Divide by Zero, who actually lagged out that game. I hope this doesn't happen again. The Zerg player for Team Amazon versus Blastoise, the Terran player for Team Chopper Trading. And the map is going to be Habitation Station. So it's going to be a TVZ on Habitation Station. Terran player. Wait. Yeah, Terran player representing Team Chopper Trading, and Zerg player representing Team Amazon. And Habitation Station, it's honestly one of those great maps that I love seeing TVZs on. It's just, there's so many iconic TVZs that happen in pro gaming on that map. So many great games happen on this map. There's the gold expansion as a really cool dynamic. Sometimes you end up seeing a Terran player go for a very, very fast gold expansion. Sometimes that's just their third expansion. I've seen Zerg players take their natural expansion at the gold. And if the Terran player just isn't prepared for it, it can kind of go crazy. I've seen Terran players actually lift up their main base, go over to the gold expansion, land over there. The Zerg player doesn't go for a drone scout. They send an Overlord scout out or something, and they're looking for maybe proxy locations instead of going straight across the map. They don't actually see the gold expansion for quite a bit of time. And by the time they do, it's like a little bit too late to actually do anything about it. So all kinds of crazy things can happen over here. Anything is really possible from these two players. And it's going to be important for Team Chopper Trading to get their name on the board. Because going down 1-0, it sets the pace for the series. I've said that multiple times before. But going down 2-0, or sorry, I should say going up 2-0, that's like, that gives you 3 games to win once. You only have to, you can get lucky. You can throw out 3 different crazy cheeses and just hope that one of them works. That's all you have to do when you're up 2-0. So it's going to be very important that Chopper Trading does not get put into that sort of situation. They really do want to try and make everything happen. But everything happen that they can. But again, it's going to be very interesting. Let's talk a little bit about these two players. Blastoise from Team Chopper Block is actually sitting at 5-3 in the After Hours Gaming League season number 4, and he's 3-2 in TVZ. So he's actually got a fair amount of TVZ experience. Actually, a majority of his games have been Terran versus Zerg, except for 2 of them. But still, he's won some, he's lost some, one more actually than he's lost, and he's going to be feeling pretty comfortable. A pretty solid choice for Team Chopper Trading. Now, for Team Amazon, we actually have Divide by Zero, who, again, I want to say 2 games. It's not a large number. It's not a large statistic that we can really draw a lot of conclusions off of. But Divide by Zero is sitting 2-0, both of those being ZVTs, all right? And Divide by Zero, obviously, the Zerg in this situation. So he's got experience playing ZVT. We know that it's a pretty solid ZVT because he's been able to win at least 2 games and hasn't really lost any. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. Let's go ahead and jump into it as I'm going to play a really quick map intro. Alright guys, we are in the game, and it is actually already a minute in because I completely forgot to play that map intro in time, but let's go ahead and introduce the players as we spawn up here in the top right hand corner on top of the orange Zerg player representing Team Amazon, currently up 1-0. It is Divide by Zero. And his opponent spawning up here in the, In the center gold base location, we have the pink Terran player representing no team other than Chopper Trading, currently down 0-1, but making a couple of crazy shenanigans happen in this game to try and come back. It is going to be Blastoise. So, Divide by Zero, he sees the gold expansion, and how does he react? I'm going to be honest. Oh god, oh no, Divide by Zero, he went for a gas already. This is going to be actually really difficult. So there's a really crazy debate that's been going on lately in the StarCraft community, alright? The debate is, if you see a Terran player do this, should the Zerg player just pull all their drones and go for it? Because think about it. You can see 12 drones to 15, or 12 SCVs to 15 drones. And if you just pull 11 or like 14 of your drones, you could just go for it right now. You could just try and win right now with just pure drones, and you could do a lot of damage because drones are actually, they'll regenerate their health automatically over time. So they're a little bit tankier. They have like a higher effective health because they'll actually be able to tank up 1 or 2 more extra shots than an SCV over a prolonged fight. And I mean, you can just leave 1 or 2 drones mining, and then you'll be able to transition out. Your opponent is not mining at all. But the thing is, this is why it's a debate, because a lot of Terran players have been able to get up these kind of crazy wall-offs very early on. And it's made it actually very difficult for the Zerg player to punish this sort of thing. But okay, I love this. Divide by Zero is just saying, you know what? That's fine, you can take the gold. I'm gonna take the gold too. Oh, the Marines, they're tagging the Zone Log Watchtower. They do not see it right now, but later on, if Divide by Zero does not go ahead and check that location, when his Marine actually tags that Zone Log Watchtower later on, after the hatchery completes, he will see the creep over by that gold expansion. But he's actually throwing down bunkers already. He's thinking that he can just deny this natural expansion from being taken entirely. This could actually work out really well for Divide by Zero. Oh, he's going to lose an Overlord, though. That's going to cut into a lot of his production, and he could just be in a lot of trouble right now. There's actually almost no Zerglings out on the map right now. There's a Spine Crawler going down. The bunker is also going down as well. And these Marines are being ultra aggressive. Drones being pulled. The Queen is going to be so important. The Queen doing a lot of damage over here from a nice little bit of a range. The Marines are actually getting picked off rather rapidly, but the SCV is also building that bunker. He does not want to let that bunker complete. He manages to pick off the SCV and force the cancel out. There is a bunker on the low ground with 4 Marines, 2 more Marines actually, and a couple more Marines rallying in. But now you can see over here that Divide by Zero has tagged the Zone Log Watchtower. He should see the creep. He should know about it, but it's not on the minimap. He has to actually notice this himself. This is actually, it's potentially, there's a potential that he just hasn't noticed it yet. Because again, you didn't see anything on the minimap. He just sees the creep there if he notices it. And it's a really awkward position, because if he doesn't realize that the gold expansion over there has been taken, he could just send 1 Marine over there, honestly, and just deal with this. I feel like if he had noticed it, he would have done so by now. But he's got to be thinking, okay, there's no natural expansion. I'm just getting further and further ahead because I have a gold expansion. My opponent doesn't. It's also a Zerg player. Oh, but Spine Crawler burrowing. It's actually not in a great position. It's getting focused very down by the Marines and the SCVs. It ends up falling. Oh, no. Team Amazon in a ton of trouble. Team Chopper Trading looking to be in a great position in this game. Manor Mule being thrown down. He's saying he's already won the game. The Marines stutter stepping backwards, taking out majority of the drones. 10 drones left over, 7 SCVs mining right now, but that's all he really needs because he has a gold expansion. He's in the middle line of Divide by Zero. Divide by Zero. His Roach Warren's finishing up, but no, it is forced to be canceled, and the drones trying to run. They're trying to retreat over to the gold expansion where they can maybe continue to mine some as Zerglings manage to come out. They have speed. They're trying to take as many Marines as possible, but it is not going to really work this time as so many majority of those Zerglings get taken out. There's still a large number of these Marines left over in the main base. These Zerglings are going to be able to take out this bunker, it looks like it. And they're going to be able to pick up a couple of these reinforcements, but Blastoise has got to be thinking, okay, well look, hold on. Your Zerglings are running up to there, and it has creep over there. Oh, well there's a hatchery over here. Well, let me just go ahead and assault this hatchery with this enormous force of Marines that's early on in the game. Well, I mean, it's the 8-minute mark, so it's not exactly this early on in the game, but it has been a crazy game here today, folks, and a single mule going to be expiring over there, but that does not matter. Blastoise is not at all phased by it, and he's going to take that game for Team Chopper Trading. And what a game did we just have over there. I mean, I mentioned earlier that there have been some Terran players who could lift up and float over to the gold expansion. It has been known to happen, but man, I was not expecting it, even after knowing it was potentially going to happen. And I actually do want to correct something. I completely was mispronouncing the Rage Cage. I kept pronouncing him as the Rage Kage earlier. Oh, actually, no, I don't think I've actually said his name yet. He's going to be playing game number 3, which is the next game. But it's pronounced the Rage Cage. I think I always pronounce it the Rage Kage whenever I cast Team Amazon. So I'm preempting that. But that is going to tie up the series 1-1. We're going to have a best of 3 effectively going on now. It's going to be a best of 3. And anything could really happen at this point. It's going to be a Zerg versus Zerg. So that's going to be fun. And the map is going to be Frost. So the player from Team Amazon is going to be the Rage Cage. The Rage Cage, also pronounced as the Rage Kage, because Naruto. Naruto and anime and all that kind of fun stuff. And representing Team Chopper Trading, we have Uffman 2 in the game, just going to be known as Uffman. And it makes me wonder, does he play like League of Legends? Does he like Earth the Manatee? Like it's Earth Man, like short for manatee, Uff short for Earth, maybe, who knows? Anything could really be going on with that name. But Frost for the ZVZ, gonna be pretty cool. But I'm really waiting to see how this game is gonna go, because again, it's tied up. It's a best of 3. That means that basically whoever wins this game is gonna be 1 game away from winning. But it's not gonna be, you're not gonna be so far ahead that you're just guaranteed to win. Like, it's gonna be this easy kind of, oh, you know, sit back, relax. Like, that would have been the case if Team Amazon had won that last game and they were sitting 2-0. They'd be like, okay, let's sip some tea. Let's kind of think about, oh, do we want to attempt this? Maybe throw in a little bit of cheese. If not, we could try playing a standard map. No, this is actually a pretty close series right now. So both of these teams really got to be giving it their all. And you have to remember that on the line, we have the potential for Team Chopper Trading to actually make it straight to the playoffs. Whereas if they lose, then they're going to have to go through the big crazy FFA games, and it's going to be a huge headache. I mean, anything can happen in those FFAs. If you just so much as spawn in the wrong location, I know that sometimes Day 9 has been a little bit sadistic and forced players to play on maps where, like, one player is spawning in the middle of the map or something crazy like that. It's like normally a 4-player map, or sorry, a 4v4 map or something, but they just, one of your teammates is like in the middle, but except you don't actually have any teammates because it's FFA. Like, anything can happen in those games. For all you know, you could just be like the unlucky fool that gets 6-pooled by somebody who's just like, well, I don't even care if we qualify, just 6-pool, I just don't want them to qualify. Like, you could always be that kind of unlucky person. But with that being said, it looks like they are pretty much ready. Then they were asking me if I was ready to start the game, and Uffman was just like, he read the chat and he just gave up on reading the chat. And I was like, no guys, I'm still reading the chat. It's just very annoying because I have a very loud keyboard, so I try not to type. So whenever, by the way, if you guys can hear me, like, start the game whenever. I'm just waiting for you guys to actually start the game. But we are pretty much ready, so let's go ahead and jump into it as we find out who is going to be the victor of this Zerg versus Zerg matchup between Team Amazon and Team Chopper Trading, sitting at a best of 5, and it's currently sitting 1-1. I will see you guys in just a little bit. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to game number 3 between Team Amazon and Team Chopper Trading. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players in this tied up 1-1 series as we spawn up here in the top right-hand corner on top of the orange Zerg player representing Team Amazon. It is the Rage Cage, also pronounced the Rage Kage, just to annoy him. But seriously, guys, it is the Rage Cage. And do you guys like helicopters and something? I completely missed it, but Spawning down here in the bottom right now. Oh, it looks like they're just talking about Team Chopper Trading, or I should say the company Chopper Trading. Let's find down here. We have the pink Zerg player representing Chopper Trading. It is Wolfman. And that is a cow. That is a cow decal, and I am a big fan of it. Maybe that's probably why he's named Wolfman. I don't know. Oofs just sounds like the sound that a cow makes. Like, I know that cows make them. Look, guys, I grew up and I had those little toys that said the dog says woof. I watched the. I don't know what the fox says, but I know that the cow says moo. But this just looks like the kind of thing that a cow would say. Oof, oof. I don't know. Maybe that's why he belongs to that clan. Who knows? But regardless, it's going to be a Zerg versus Zerg, and we already see a couple of deviations between these two builds. Right now, we have a hatchery first going down for Oofman, and a spawning pool first going down for Rage Cage. And it's sort of interesting because Frost is a 4-player map, and normally I would actually like to see hatchery first coming out for both these players. But honestly, after talking with a lot of Zerg players, the only real difference between these kind of different builds for hatchery first versus spawning pool first is it helps to defend against an early pool if you go for the spawning pool first. But neither of these players are really going for any kind of crazy early pool, so it's really not going to be too much of a concern. Overall, the builds are basically going to even up a little bit faster. The spawning pool first player gets up their first queen a little bit quicker, or has the potential to. Whereas Wolfman is going to be able to get both of his queens at the same time, and he'll have a bit of a burst of larva. So it's minor little differences that in the end sort of comes to a fairly even situation. But Frost, again, it's a pretty big map. Both these players are actually going to be scouting the wrong locations first. But finally, it looks like Wolfman going to get that Overlord in, see the natural expansion hatchery, as well as the Rage Cage actually doing the same thing for his opponent, seeing that it was a hatchery first. And how exactly is he going to react? He already has this extractor taken and is starting to mine quite a bit of gas. Has a nice little gas lead actually over his opponent, Wolfman, who is, you know, about 50 gas away. Normally this doesn't make a huge difference because it basically puts your Zergling speed ahead by a good 15, 20 seconds, maybe like 30 seconds if you're really, really lucky and you're really on point and your opponent isn't. But overall, yeah, you can see there's going to be a very, very small window for either of these players to actually exploit that earlier Zergling speed. I should say the Rage Cage to exploit that earlier Zergling speed. It really, really is difficult to make happen. So overall, I almost want to say that it's fairly mirrored builds at this point. 18 drones for both these players. They're both kind of droning up, and oh, look at this. We have a lot of Zerglings actually being produced over here for Wolfman. We already have 12 out on the way right now, with Zergling speed going to be finishing up fairly soon. A Baneling that's on the way. Could we see Wolfman getting a little bit aggressive very, very soon? Where are his Zerglings? He's hiding his Zerglings. Okay, this is very indicative that he wants to go for some big, big pressure play. Because you want to hide these Zerglings so your opponent is not prepared. You have a couple of Zerglings over the front, that's totally fine. It's normal to have 4 to 6 Zerglings over your front. Especially if you're skipping things like a Spine Crawler. And if we end up seeing the Rage Cage scout out, he's gonna be like, okay, well that's fine, I can continue to drone up. And you can see he's droning up, he's getting up his Baneling nest. He has a nice wall in that's gonna help out a lot against this aggression. But behind this, he doesn't realize that there's an enormously larger number of Zerglings. Each one of these 2 Zerglings, every 2 Zerglings over here is basically one of these drones that the Rage Cage has made. Rage Cage is basically sacrificing his ability to make additional Zerglings in favor of making these drones. He's going to be getting a very, very big drone lead, but he's going to be so far behind the Zerglings, and he's just going to be completely caught off guard. He's going to have to try and find some way to hold on, and I would love to see, I mean, he doesn't know about it, but I would love to see him start to complete this wall. Yes, he's starting to do it. This could actually be what Amazon needs to do. If he can get the queen over to this side of the hatchery, that would be so, so helpful as well, because then he can start to do some sort of kind of crazy wall in over here. And the Rage Cage, he's moving in with that Zergling. He sees a lot of Zerglings. Does he actually identify what exactly is going on? He's making a couple of Banelings. He may have identified it. The Zerglings are moving out from Wolfman. He's going to try and do it. Rage Cage definitely knows what's going on. He sees all of these Zerglings with his overlords, and a lot of Banelings going to be morphed in over here for Wolfman. Oh my god, that is a lot of Banelings. He could actually just knock down this wall in, but I think that he's going to try and prefer not to. He's going to try and move in, because I'm not sure that queen, well, the queen actually, I believe it may be completely blocking this. No, it's not a complete wall-in, so he does still have to be a little bit careful about this. Now the Zergling's going after those Banelings, trying to just sacrifice as many as possible, and the Rage Cage, he's trying to save those Banelings. He needs those Banelings. He just has an underwhelmingly lower number of Zerglings out on the map. He needs those Banelings to get some great hits, but look at how many Banelings there are for Uthman. Uthman charging forward, trying to get the biggest hits of his life. A lot of Banelings actually end up falling over there for Uthman, but I mean, he still has a lot of Banelings left over. Drones falling. The Zerglings are also still left alive and going to be charging their way into the main base, where the Spine Caller really can't help out too much. A single Baneling going to be trying to find a nice little connection on some of those drones. A handful of those Zerglings are going to be popping out for the Rage Cage. It looks like he may actually finally be able to stabilize over here, as he is also going to be getting that +1 armor upgrade that's going to allow his Zerglings to survive those Baneling hits. And crazily enough, at the end of all that, we have no queens really going down for either of these players, and a relatively even drone count. The Zergling count is a little bit higher, actually, for the Rage Cage now, and he does have the +1 armor, so I like the Rage Cage's position a little bit better right now. But that was actually a very even trade for the most part. Like a very surprisingly even trade. Let's look at the Baneling, or the gas count. We can also see that, weirdly enough, we have double gas geysers have been thrown down earlier, so we have a lot more gas over here for Uthman. He can transition out much sooner. He can go up for some sort of layer tech or whatever very quickly. Whereas the Rage Cage, I mean, he kind of was just still mining gas off of this one gas geyser. He's going to be going up to that layer tech, actually, surprisingly enough, before his opponent, who's just building up a very big gas count. And oh, this might be why, because we actually see a Roach Warren being thrown down. Looks like this is going to be the fall for Uthman. Uthman going to be transitioning out into a lot of Roaches, probably. We may even see a third expansion come out at some point, as Uthman, he's up to a relatively decent drone count and everything. But in the meanwhile, I look at the Rage Cage, and everything about what he's doing is screaming to me fast Mutalisk. He's getting up his extra gas geysers over at the main base. I would like to see this gas geyser, or both these gas geysers of the natural expansion, being thrown down sometime soon, if he is going to be going for some sort of Spire Tech soon. But also just the fact that he doesn't really have a Roach Warren out right now. He's got to be thinking, okay, well, I have a lot of Zerglings and Banelings out on the map that could actually probably deal with any kind of small numbers of Roaches. But in the end, I have to get up a Roach Warren at some point, or I have to get up a Spire, because one of those two is going to help him survive against a large number of Roaches. Now, we end up seeing the Zerglings moving across the map, and you have to remember, those are Zerglings with +1 armor. That means that they will survive these Baneling hits, a single Baneling hit with a very small amount of hit points. So that's going to be very useful for this next engagement. We have a Wall-In coming up from Uthman. He realizes he's in a lot of trouble, because that is a lot of Zerglings, and he has to correctly identify how many Zerglings are actually coming. Is my opponent making more Zerglings? Or is this just the entire attack? And it looks like a Rage Cage not really committing to it. He left a lot of Banelings at home. So he's actually going to be preparing to try and follow this up. And do we actually have a Spire on the way? We have a Spine Crawler. Not exactly the same thing as a Spire, but it looks like the same sort of size as a building. And no, just a third expansion. So here's what we're actually ending up to see from the Rage Cage. He's actually going for a very cool style. He's going for a lot of Speedlings. And it's not very efficient against the Roaches, but he needs to play a very mobile style. He needs to be very active on the map with these Zerglings and try and pick off reinforcements. I would love to see him try and engage these Zerglings over here, try and get as much damage as possible done before the Roaches actually arrive. But he could be in a lot of trouble now, because now the Roaches are going to be over here. And yeah, the Zerglings have some great upgrades. They're sitting on 1-1 right now against a 0-0 of Banelings and Roaches and Zerglings and everything. Ooh! Banelings get some okay hits. I mean, they kill off a couple of Zerglings and get some okay damage on the Roaches, but probably not the kind of hits that I think the Rage Cage really wanted to get with those Banelings. But he's going to be in a lot of trouble over here. He's backed up with his Zerglings. He's going to be going for a bit of a surround, but actually, his opponent gets straight into his natural expansion, gets into a great position. These Zerglings are really going to have a very difficult time actually dealing with these Roaches, but the Roaches honestly don't do damage that quickly, so they're going to have a difficult time actually being able to deal with this kind of number of Zerglings. And it looks like the Rage Cage is going to be able to probably defend this without too much trouble for the most part. He doesn't exactly get, again, the most efficient trades, because he doesn't have a lot of surface area to attack these Roaches, since they're up against the wall. They were up in this choke and everything. But I mean, still, he holds off that kind of push with flying colors. And that is exactly the kind of situation, those are the kind of engagements you still want to have with this sort of mass Zergling style with great upgrades against a roaching player. You want to be able to just basically secure your third expansion and deny your opponent's third expansion. And meanwhile, behind this, you get up a lot more tech with all that gas that you have. You just basically get to straight up tech into things like Infestors, Mutalisk, whatever you want, and maybe you get a couple of Banelings out, and look at this. Zergling's able to survive those Baneling hits, so helpful, and now he can put on a little bit more pressure. There's a handful of Roaches that can wail away at those Zerglings, so it looks like a Rage Cage is going to back off for now. But still, Ulfman is 100% walled in. There is actually not an opening. He could lift up the Spinecrawler or unroot it and move out eventually. But still, he is very pushed back into his base. And he's trying to drone up. I mean, he's sitting around 36 drones because he tried to go for that big push and it just didn't work out. The Rage Cage has a third expansion. He has a lot more larva production right now. I mean, there's not even a macro expansion thrown down for the player from Team Chopper Trading. So he really just can't do a whole lot in terms of unit production. In the meanwhile, again, Rage Cage, he has a third expansion. He has a big mineral bank starting to build up now just because of how much of an economy he has, producing just purely Zerglings. And now with the Infestors popping out, this is where the Rage Cage is really going to hit his stride. And I think that, you know, right now, Ulfman has to come up with some sort of answer. I think that the answer he's looking for is just going to be, I'm going to make a massive army of Roaches. He's going to have some upgrades coming up eventually as the Evolution Chamber. I mean, he has 3 Evolution Chambers, but he's actually getting another Evolution Chamber over at his front. I think this is a bit of a weird decision. I feel like he could at least just upgrade with these 2 Evolution Chambers. He wants to get those upgrades going as soon as possible because he is honestly just starting to fall really far behind. I mean, again, he's up against 2 Zerglings at this point. And with Infestors coming out, it's going to be a very awkward situation. One of the Evolution Chambers actually getting killed off over here for the Rage Cage. Kind of a weird decision. And I guess he just didn't want to have the wall in as concrete over there. He wants to make sure that his Zerglings can flow back into his natural expansion in case there's any kind of crazy run-bys. But Ulfman is now moving out across the map, and he actually has a relatively even army supply. It's actually a little bit ahead, a good 20 supply. It's 77 to 80, or sorry, 77 to 55 supply in favor of Ulfman. So he is definitely in a decent position, and again, he has Roaches versus Zerglings. But now there are Infestors out. Oh, whoa, wait. Infestors throwing out Fungal Growths. Oh, he's trying to take out those Overlords. That actually might not have been the best thing over here, because now he's going to have a lot less energy to deal with these Roaches and with these Zerglings. So this could actually be a bit of an awkward situation. A lot of the energy, again, got used up over there. The Infested Terrans not going to be too useful after those Overlords get taken out, and now we end up seeing the Roaches trying to move in over here. Some good Fungal Growths actually still being thrown down. It looks like he still has a pretty decent number of Fungal Growths left over, but the Zerglings get taken out rather quickly. These Roaches now still sitting actually on 0-0, but God, they're just so tanky against the Zerglings. The Zerglings just don't do enough damage. Now the Roaches are actually seeking out those Infestors. The Infestors, luckily for them, have Burrow. 7 more Infestors going to be popping out. It's going to be helpful because they have pathogen glands. They're going to have enough energy for another Fungal Growth or 2 to be thrown out immediately. Some Infested Terrans being forced to be laid down. Zerglings now popping out. He's going to be trying to push back this Roach Ball, but more Roaches going to be coming in for Ulfman. Can Ulfman actually break this? If he can break this, he may be able to take this game, but if not, I think that we're going to see Amazon's The Rage Cage just be able to just swell into a large number of units with a massively bigger economy and be able to eventually take this game. It's going to come down to this big defense and this big attack that is trying to come out from Ulfman. Ulfman is trying to make more units. He's trying to make more Roaches. He's trying to get some upgrades. +1 missile attacks is going to be finishing up for the Ulfman. And he's going to try moving over here to this 3rd expansion. But look at all these Spinecrawlers. He doesn't even need to get up any of these Spinecrawlers. He just needs to buy time. And that's what he's doing with these Spinecrawlers. Either the Spinecrawlers will get up and they'll be able to take out all these Roaches, or he kills off all the Spinecrawlers and he's bought enough time for all these Infestors to lay out all these, oh my God, Infested Terrans trapping the Roaches, and he manages to defend. I mean, a lot of the Infested Terran energy has been used up, but I mean, eventually they're going to actually regenerate it. He's going to be able to throw out a decent number of Infested Terrans. I mean, at least he's going to be able to throw out a good 16 or so Infested Terrans. And that actually might just be enough to buy enough time to get out some more Zerglings, whatever. Ulfman is just coming in small waves of Roaches because he realizes he has to win this game now. The longer that he waits, the more dire situation is going to be. So he keeps pressuring in, but he just doesn't have enough units to actually make a whole lot happen over here. And the Infested Terrans are being thrown out. The Zerglings and the Infested Terrans are actually starting to trap a lot of these Roaches, making it very difficult to actually make the retreat out. And he ends up losing a majority of those Roaches, only has a handful left over. Behind this, he's trying to take a 3rd expansion, but is this 3rd expansion actually going to be safe? We have Roaches sitting on 1-0 upgrades versus, once again, the Zerglings sitting on I believe 2-0, or sorry, 2-2. Oh man, do we have any Zerglings out on the map right now? We have 4 Zerglings, 2-2 upgrades finished up, and Adrenal Glands on the way with that Hive Tech already done. The Rage Cage looking to be in a great position for Team Amazon. And, oh man, all the Rage Cage has to do right now is defend a little bit longer, build up that Zergling count one more time, and he has the Infestor count. He just needs to get up the energy for it, for those Infestors, and he can make a move across the map. Look at all these Infestors. He has 24 Infestors in this little group right now, and that is an absurd number. He can lay down so many Infested Terrans, and all he has to do is make sure he doesn't lose too much to these roaches, and honestly, with this many spine crawlers, he's not really going to be losing too many units or anything. And then he just denies his 3rd expansion with all those Zerglings and these Infestors. Actually, just 4 Infestors, 4 Infestor hit squad, man. 4 Brofester hit squad inbound, I should say. And he's just going to lay down a ton of infested Terrans. Just try and get a denial on that hatchery undirected. I mean, he already played his game, man. He already had his time in the spotlight. But he's going to be lagging out a little bit. But once those Infested Terrans get thrown out, he's going to be in so much trouble. Wolfman is, I mean, as well as Team Chopper Trading. Oh, this is going to be very difficult. And I want to give a shout out to Cicero in the chat, laying down some stuff. Not in this chat, in my Twitch chat. Big shout out to him. Used to play for Team Amazon, now plays for Team Google, but he is actually still watching. So awesome to see him around. But oh man. Oafman, what are you going to be able to do? He has all of his drones over here. The 4 Brofester hit squad is getting ready. They're drinking their fraternity drinks. Whatever the fraternities drink, we know what they drink. It's Kool-Aid. It's Kool-Aid, and we all know what's in the Kool-Aid. It's adrenal glands. It's clearly adrenal glands. That's exactly what's always in the Kool-Aid. But Oafman, oh man, he's got to make something happen. And he's actually sitting at a pretty decent drone count, 59 drones. With this 3rd expansion up, if you can find a way to defend this 3rd expansion while also getting up some semblance of tech, he may be able to still stay in this game and somehow even this out. But the Rage Cage is sitting up at a massive supply lead, and that's without any roaches. And roaches, again, are supply inefficient. If you want to have the supply lead as a roaching player against a non-roaching player. And that's really not the case right now. But Zerglings are going to be coming in once again with 2-2 upgrades. Adrenal Glands is now finished up, and they're just going to focus fire down that hatchery. These roaches, they just don't have the DPS to deal with it, and it immediately gets taken out. Still a large number of these Zerglings left over. 3-3 all the way, so I mean, it's going to be even more difficult to deal with the Zerglings a little bit later on. And still just sitting on 1-1 on these roaches. The armor upgrade is going to be helping out against those Zerglings, but he really needs to catch up in those upgrades. I mean, this expansion is going to be very helpful, but we also have a 4th expansion up for the Rage Cage. And with that 3rd expansion being taken out, the Spore Crawler and the Spine Crawler, going to be very unpleasant buildings, or unhappy buildings in a little bit as that creep starts to recede. It's going to be rough. God, just look at this Infestor count. I mean, I feel like I'm watching a game of Psychonauts over here from the Rage Cage, if you guys are familiar with that game, where basically this is mental warfare, it's energy warfare, as the fungal growths and, you know, the infested Terrans and all kinds of crazy shenanigans are being thrown down from the Rage Cage in these engagements alongside all these Zerglings. I mean, there's not even potential for retreat anymore against the Ultralists that are going to have 3-3, because the fungal growths will go down on those roaches and they will just get cleaved to Kingdom Come, basically. Because these roaches, you might notice that it says that they are armored biological units, and oh, look at this, Ultralists deal, well actually, oh wait, Ultralists actually don't deal extra damage to armored units anymore. I take it back, but still they have 3-3 damage, and they 3-3 upgrades, and they still do a substantial amount of damage. They also start to do a lot of cleave damage, and oh my god, the infested Terrans down here at the bottom side. They managed to take out that 3rd expansion or the 4th expansion, whatever you want to call it. Infested Terrans going to be thrown out. Fungal growths being thrown out as well, and the Ultras cleaving their way to victory for Team Amazon with this army cleaned up. What is Oafman going to have left over to try and deal with this army? Dancing Infestors, dancing Ultralists. And the Rage Cage knows he has it. He's going to be charging forward and looking to take game number 3 in favor of Team Amazon. And he's trying to clean up the Ultras that he can. But the Ultras, I mean, just 2 Ultras already difficult enough to deal with. With this number of Infestors, GG is going to be called with the smiling face. Very mannered from Oafman. Big shout out to him for that. And GG gets called out for the Rage Cage. And Team Amazon going to be taking game number 3, bringing the series to a 2-1 lead in favor of Team Amazon. And guys, we now are 1 game away, potentially, from the series ending. If Team Amazon can win this next game, they're going to be taking the series 3-1. But if we end up seeing, of course, Team Chopper Trading take this. Oh, whoops! I accidentally just made it 3-1. Guys, it's now 3-1. No, we are going to be jumping into game number 4 as it is 2-1. And Team Chopper Trading has got to win the next 2 games. There's absolutely no room for mess-ups or mistakes anymore. You have to win every single game, and a lot of pressure is going to be on Team Chopper Trading. So can they make it happen? I don't know. It's going to be difficult, but you know what? They have the potential. They have the potential. They've shown that they have some great players. And honestly, Uthman was, again, playing from down and out in that entire game after the initial aggression really just... It didn't work out as well as he would have liked. It was very, very close. It was an almost even sort of situation. But I have to say that Team Amazon's The Rage Cage did a great job holding. And he had that one kind of big advantage of that he had his upgrades already kind of going. He had his +1 Carapace upgrade. And he was able to transition out into the Infestor tech. Get up the Zergling, a large Zergling count. Whereas Uthman was going for the Roach transition. And that follow-up attack just got decimated. It just, honestly, that's what happened. It got decimated. And the Rage Cage took an enormous lead in that game. But Uthman stayed strong in that game. Alright, I want to point that out. Uthman stayed very strong in that game, and he made that game go on for quite a while. And yeah, he was down and out, like he was very far behind through a lot of the game, but he was slowly starting to come into a situation where I was initially like, oh man, I feel like the Uthman may just be dead. He might have to tap out soon. And eventually that kid became, Uthman, I mean... He has like some glimmers of hopes. He's actually doing a pretty good job of, staying in the game, making sure he doesn't die, and just being as resilient as possible. And the Rage Cage, he's a great player, so he's able to close it out and not allow Uthman that opportunity to come back in the game. But, I mean, Team Chopper Trading still has some great players. So what I'm trying to say is that I think that they still have a great potential to take this next game. We'll have to wait and see as I go ahead and join the lobby for this next game. I'm just going to go ahead and immediately tell everyone that I am ready. But the next map is going to be the map Yonsu. And I actually want to really quickly note, just stat-wise, because I didn't actually get to talk about it. I've talked about all the stats for a lot of the other players. The Rage Cage is actually sitting 0-3 in the AHGL Season 4. Sitting 0-2 in ZVZ. Has played a lot of ZVZ. That was his 3rd ZVZ. And he's finally won a ZVZ, and he's won something in Season 4, so congratulations to the Rage Cage. You did it, man. You hung strong. And now you're able to say that you've been able to, win some games for your team, so that's awesome. Well, now this next game is going to, and actually interesting note, Uthman finally played his first ZVZ, was sitting 2-2 in the HGL, is now sitting 0-1 in ZVZ. It's a little bit unfortunate because he hadn't actually played any ZVZs. But now we're going to be moving into the 4th and final, or potentially final game between these 2 teams. It is going to be Team Amazon's Catfish, spelled with a K, versus Azurix from Chopper Trading, spelled with an X at the end. And it's going to be a PvP. So that basically tells you what the races are. And with that being said, the game is getting started, so let's go ahead and jump into it. I will see you guys in a little bit. Alright guys, we are going to be jumping into the game and introducing players as we spawn up here in the top right hand corner of the map on top of the orange Protoss player representing Team Amazon and currently up 2-1. It is Catfish. Team Clamazon. In shells we trust. And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom left hand corner of the map representing Team Chopper Trading. It is the pink Protoss player who cannot afford to lose this game, is going to be one of the last remaining legs and hopes Team Chopper Trading. It is Azurix. Once again with the Bolo decal. Alright, guys. Once again, no room for mistakes. We have a 12 gate going down. Oh my god, no, this is an 11 gate. Wait, was this a 10 gate? Oh my god, this is a 10 gate, I think. We have a 10 gate going down from Catfish. 10 or 11 gate, one of the two. Either way, it's a much earlier gate. Catfish is looking to open this game up for Team Amazon with a win. He is looking to end this nice and early. He's going to be scouting around for any kind of proxies, wants to make sure that he isn't getting proxied himself or getting any kind of crazy shenanigans thrown at him, because he's going for a little bit of shenanigans. He's going to be going for a much earlier gateway timing. This could, if it was a 10 gate, I expect it to be some sort of 3 gate pressure. If it was a 11 gate, I expect it to be some sort of 4 gate pressure. But regardless, I'm expecting some very, very early aggression. Just look at this. The gateway is already finishing up, and we can see still another 15 seconds behind for Azurix. And with a couple of well-placed Chrono Boosts from Catfish, as you can see, he's saving up those Chrono Boosts. He's going to be throwing them down on the Warp Gate technology. He can get a very nice lead on in terms of how fast his Warp Gate technology comes out, and he could actually do an absurd amount of pressure to Azurix. Azurix is sending out a relatively early probe scout. I mean, well, actually not super early. He's sending it out after Gateway, I believe. So this is actually a pretty normally timed probe scout. A lot of pros players do like to actually delay the probe scout, though, until much later on. And ooh, a second gas guys are going down for Catfish. Isn't going to be going for the Mushroom Core. That is something that you can sometimes do with these kind of push outs. No, he's going to be going for the cancel. That was complete and total I guess mind game. He was basically saying, oh no, look, nothing crazy going on. I'm going for my second gas geyser. Don't you worry. I will be teching you. No, I'm not. I'm not getting my second gas geyser. I'm going to all in you with a bunch of gateways and going for a 3 gate or 4 gate all in. And Azurix, oh god, is he going to be prepared for it? He's actually looking around, making sure there's no kind of crazy proxies. Maybe he's just going to try and hide this probe now. But does he send it back in a little bit later? Catfish already moving across the map with that first Zealot. He's throwing down the Chrono Boost on that Warp Gate technology. What is his opponent doing? Azurix, he has up a second gateway. He could very well... Oh, he's going for a Twilight Council. Oh god, this could work out really well or really, really poorly. It looks like he may be going for a 3 Stalker Rush, and the 3 Stalker Rush is going to be okay. A Zealot coming out. Maybe Azurix is thinking, hey, wait a second, that's a kind of early Zealot. It shouldn't be actually popping out for a little bit if he knows his timings really, really well, especially on him. You don't even account for things like how big the map is and everything, though, so that could actually be very difficult to identify. But now Zealot and Stalker are going to be moving their way across, or moving their way into the main base. The Stalker is doing a nice job trying to micro its way around this, but the Stalker's taking a lot of damage, just one hit away from that other Stalker, and it does get taken out. Now the Mothership Core actually going to be in a man fight with his Mothership Core, and it looks like the Mothership Core should end up winning, but it's going to actually take a little bit of damage during that. The Zealot at the same time doing a little bit of wailing away. I really like the building positioning over here from Azurix. The Twilight Council is researching Blink. It's not going to be going for any kind of crazy DT play, and it looks like Azurix has identified what's going on. He's going for the 4 gateways. He is realizing I need to just get up as many units as possible. At the same time, Catfish, he has up his 4 gateways, and the Warp Gate technology is already done for him. You can see Warp Gate technology still 20 seconds away over here for Azurix. Azurix just doesn't have any units to defend. Photon Overcharge is going to be very, very helpful. He's going to be able to buy himself enough time to get up the Warp Gate technology. But oh, the Stalkers, he don't want to be focus firing down the Cybernetic Core right now, or do they? He's losing a lot of these Stalkers. I don't know how much I agree with that decision. Warp Gate's finally starting to morph in over here, and Azurix may actually be able to somehow reclaim his position in this game. He's going to have a really solid warp in, and there's a lot of Zelt over here for Catfish. You have to remember, he doesn't have quite as many probes, so he's going to have a harder time actually mining the gas. He only has 1 gas geyser actually mining, whereas his opponent has 2 gas geysers. That means that a lot more Stalkers can be warped in for Azurix, whereas eventually Catfish kind of runs dry on how much gas he has. He's going to start to have to warp in Zealots, and Zealots can be kited around, but they do a great job tanking. It really just changes the dynamic of this micro. That Photon Overcharge has finally worn out. We end up seeing the Catfish just trying to force an engagement. He's going after buildings. If he can take out a Warp Gate, that would be huge. If he can take out the Mothership Core, that would also be huge. The Mothership Core so low on health right now. It's sitting at a good 8 health, but right now the Stalkers managed to push everything back. The Mothership Core actually going to be safe because of this great walling in that we ended up seeing out of Azurix. This is going to be a battle of micro. The Mothership Core is not going to have enough energy for another Photon Overcharge for quite a bit of time, so it's really just going to come down to how well Azurix can defend defend with these Stalkers. He's doing a good job kind of splitting up the damage between those Stalkers. He has the blink now, and he's going to be able to blink back his Stalkers. A couple of the Stalkers a little bit mismicroed on a move command, and he ends up taking a lot of damage over here. But now he has 5 Stalkers versus the 6 or 7 Stalkers. Another Stalker warping in for his Zergs. Can he manage to hold? He has blink. It's going to be so helpful. Another Zealot going to be coming in over here, but Catfish is going to end up losing the Zealot, and it looks like still 4 gateways around and still going to be able to warp in over here for a Zergs. The Militia Corps is getting closer and closer to that Photon Overcharge. If you get up the Photon Overcharge, I think that he can hold with, again, some good positioning, and it's going to be even more difficult for Catfish to actually push in, especially with those Zealots. They're just going to become less and less useful as the Stalker count starts to build up, but the Zealots, they're doing a good job. They're tanking for now, and the Blink Stalker micro from Zergs is really just absolutely awesome right now. Zergs is starting to spiral a little bit out of control with the Stalker Bolt. He's keeping them alive for such a long time and picking off unit for unit from Catfish, but Catfish is focus firing down the Cybernetic Score. He's saying, no, I'm tired of your Blink Stalker shenanigans. I want you to fight with only Zealots, and he tries to focus fire down the Cybernetic Score while using those Zealots to keep those Stalkers busy, but now he's going after the Stalkers. He needs to make up his mind. Photon Overcharge is now there. He has enough energy. The Stalkers have overcommitted. They're going to end up falling over here. The Zealots also going to end up falling to these Stalkers. GG gets called, and Team Chopper Trading, with the great hold, manages to stay in the game, bringing the series 2-2. A fantastic defense over there from Team Chopper Trading and Azurix. Wow, that was a fantastic game. I hope you guys enjoyed that game as much as I did, as Catfish tried to go for the shenanigans, and it looked like it was going to work out. He got that Mothership Core so low on health. He had so many things so close to working. He even got the Cybernetics Core toward the end of it. Very, very low on health. He was doing a good amount of damage even to the gateways. He's trying to force the engagement, but it didn't quite work out. And honestly, if there was one thing, and I hate to criticize a player right after a game like that, because I think that both of those players did a great job doing the micro and everything. Especially Zerix with that Blink Stalker micro. That really was what kept him in that game. But I almost feel like Catfish, maybe if he had gone for the guaranteed damage on the pylon, he was going for the big damage of, I kill off a gateway and now you can't warp in as many units as I can, and I will spiral out of control. Or I kill off the Cybernetics Core and you can only produce Zealots. You can't produce any Stalkers anymore. And then I'll just spiral out of control with my Stalkers and like out micro you. If he'd gone after pylons, he could have just, it has lower health, it could have supply blocked his opponent, and he may have been able to get the win from that. But still, I mean, really well done by both those players. I'm not even sure if going for the pylon would have worked, because it was honestly a pretty close game. But that's going to be bringing us into game number 5. And guess what, guys? I have no idea who's going to be coming out in game number 5. And let me go ahead and update that score screen to reflect the current score, 2-2. It is now a best of 1. And both these players are basically going to send out their best gladiators, their undefeated gladiators, to see who was going to be able to claim the victory. And I want to remind everybody that this game, this series, means a lot for Chopper Trading right now, because Chopper Trading, if they can win this game, they are guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. If they cannot win this game, though, then what's going to end up happening is that they will have to play in the FFA matches. And the FFA matches are they're not reliable. You cannot reliably say, I got this. I can qualify without too much trouble. That doesn't happen in an FFA. If any of you have ever played an FFA before, because all kinds of like seriously, you'll go around killing off the other 3 players, or whatever, depending on how many players. I think sometimes there are 8-player FFAs or whatever. So you go around killing off all 6 of the other players, and the last player has made 200 supply of Void Rays, Tempests, and Carriers, and you're just like, well, shit, I lost my army killing off the other 6 players, and now I lose to this last remaining player who just nobody bothered to attack. So it's not a situation you want to be put into. So Chopper Trading fighting really hard. They're going to be sending out their absolute best. Team Amazon, honestly, I had the pleasure of actually doing an internship at Amazon, so I got to meet a lot of the AHGL team at Amazon, and a lot of them just they're a lot of vindictive jerks. I love them. They're all fantastic guys in reality, but they're a lot of vindictive jerks, and they would just love to deny somebody a chance to get into the playoffs. So they are still, I guarantee you, they're still going to be fighting to try and make sure that they win this series, because they like the pride. They like to know that they are one of the best teams. They made it to the semifinals of AHGL Season 3, so they want to make sure that they stay at that high respected position of saying, you know what, we're the best, and we're gonna put you in your place. You're gonna go to those FFA matches, says Team Amazon. But Chopper Trading, I mean, they just did a great job with that last game, just making that statement saying, no, we're not. We're going to fight this out. We're going to win these two games in a row. And we're going to bring the series in favor of us. And we're going to be going to the playoffs. And we will beat you in the playoffs as well. So, oh man, this is going to be very crazy. The last remaining map is going to be Heavy Rain. Both these teams, again, can send out whoever they want. So, again, I have no idea who they're going to be sending out. I won't even really have... there's a good chance, unless they've played earlier today, that I will have absolutely no statistics on them. I could actually go ahead and look them up right now. But, again, guys, this is all done live, so... it's going to be pretty interesting. I do actually still have a map intro available for this next map. But by the way, guys, if you guys like the map intros, let me know. It's actually something totally new I've been trying on. All the map intros have been made by Coulter TV, a really, really awesome guy, super amazing foreign language caster, does a lot of the casts for various Latin America events. But he's super awesome, and I want to give him a big thank you for all the intros. But let me know what you guys think. But beyond that, it looks like Team Amazon is actually still deliberating who they're going to be sending out. So is Team Chopper Trading. I mean, again, guys, they are trying their absolute best to figure out who is going to be the next player coming out for both these teams. Now, let's do a little bit of thinking. All right, so Heavy Rain. The thing about Heavy Rain is that it is a really, really great map for Blink Stalker shenanigans. All right. So if Team Amazon or Team Chopper Trading send out a Protoss player, then if they're up against a Terran player, that could be a really, really annoying situation. But I will say, that just makes it less likely that to see a Terran player on this map. I've seen a lot of great TVTs and TVZs on this map. Like, I think Terran players definitely enjoy TVZs on this map. Just because... it can be a lot of fun to shut down the creep sprite along that center location. Zerg players who have a lot of really fantastic mechanics can actually spread creep along 3 different locations, 3 different pathways, and actually is a little bit difficult for the Terran players to actually clean up. But honestly, you really do need some great mechanics to constantly be respreading that creep along 3 different pathways. It can be very annoying to do. And also, it can be kind of a weird and annoying to defend against drops on this map as a Zerg player. So I really do kind of like it a little bit more for the Terran players, especially in this kind of situation, the AHGL. But at the same time, again, I wouldn't like to see a Terran player come out from either of these teams just because Blink Stalker all-ins from a Protoss player. It's really, really scary because there's so many different locations that Blink Stalkers could blink to your main base that to throw down enough bunkers and everything to preemptively to prepare for it, it feels nigh, it's not actually impossible, but it feels nigh impossible. Impossible. So, I think Terran players less likely. So that leaves Zerg and Protoss players as the most likely candidates. Zerg players, I think that they can do some pretty cool stuff on this map against Protoss players. It can be a pretty interesting map for a Protoss player, as a Zerg player. Just because there's all kinds of crazy swarm host stuff that can happen on this map. Swarm hosts can be pretty scary on this map. As well as also, it's a much easier for a Zerg player, I think, to defend a 3rd expansion on this map. You take the one just below your main base, and it just becomes way, way easier. And actually, let me go ahead and pull up an image of Heavy Rain, just so we can get a look at it in case you're not too familiar with the actual map. As here we end up seeing Heavy Rain. Really cool map. So you can see over here, this is that low ground 3rd expansion that I was talking about on both sides of the map. It's right below the main base, and it's actually pretty easy to defend because you think about it, Protoss player can come in from a lot of different angles, but there's great, first of all, opportunities for Zerg players to send Zerglings around and go. So if, say, the Protoss player tries to come in this way or something, then the Zerg player can come in with all kinds of different angles with Zerglings, try and get flanks with the roaches, etc. At the same time, there's possibilities for Protoss players to get some nice force fields in, but this is actually honestly a pretty open area because you come in over here, there's a nice little choke over here where a Protoss player can force field if they come in from this angle. But if they force field over there, the problem is they're not actually attacking the hatchery or anything, right? They're not actually doing a whole lot of damage. So they actually have to get over here into the hatchery, and then they can start laying down some big wide force fields this way, or maybe even this way. They can maybe try and force field this, but this is actually still a pretty wide area to force field. So it takes a lot of force fields to really do a whole lot of unit prevention for the Zerg player. And you can still do it, but again, it's a little bit more difficult. So I think that Zerg players do feel a little bit more comfortable on this map defending that third expansion. Now, there are still a lot of things. Again, here's that center pathway that we were talking about. And you can do cool things. Like, I think a lot of Zerg players like to take out these center destructible rocks to just delay any kind of pushes from coming out across the map. I think that the game lobby is actually up right now. So we'll go ahead and get that up or joined as we find out potentially who is going to be the two players from each of these two teams. It looks like the reveal is done. Rage Cage coming out for Team Amazon. We already saw him earlier on. And Azurix. So both of these players, we've already seen them play today. And basically, let's recap these two players' stats. So we saw the Rage Cage come out in game number 3. He was a Zerg player, played that great ZVZ with that very, very mobile, fast Speedling Zergling style. Transition out to a massive number of infestors against Uthman. Rage Cage was sitting 0-3 in the AHGL Season 4 and took his first victory today. So you know what? I think that's a good choice. Rage Cage clearly feeling pretty confident today and looking very, very strong today. Even though, you know, his current score in the HGL isn't reflective, maybe, necessarily, of his potential. Because I know that Rage Cage is a really great player, so I think he's going to be a good choice. And on the other hand, we have Azurix, who, you know, we saw him come out in that last game as a Protoss player with some really, really great defense as a Protoss player. So it's going to be a PvZ. Only time will tell how this game will actually go on the map Heavy Rain. So let's go ahead and jump into it. I will see you guys in just a little bit. Alright guys, we are spawning into the final game for the After Hours Gaming League pre-playoff season. Let's go ahead and jump into it and find out whether or not Team Chopper Trading is going to be on the chopping block. As we spawn up here in the top side of the map, Heavy Rain on top of the orange Zerg player representing Team Amazon. It is Amazon's The Rage Cage. And his opponent spawning down here in the bottom side of the map, Heavy Rain, as the pink Protoss player representing Team Chopper Trading, the final remaining hope for Team Chopper Trading not to have to participate in those FFAs. It is going to be Azurix. Oh no, the Rage Cage! Rage Cage, don't lag out! This is an important game, Rage Cage. Oh man, well it looks like he will be okay for now. Hopefully he can maintain that internet connection with that powerful Amazon cloud computing. But let's go ahead and see how this game goes. We have, again, a Protoss versus Zerg, and Protoss player spawning the bottom side. Honestly, identical, symmetrical map on top and bottom sides, so don't really see too many differences. Spawning pool first going down for the Rage Cage. So it looks like the Rage Cage realizes, okay, you know what? This is the ace match. This is the rubber match. There's no point in taking too many huge risks, and is actually going to go for a spawning pool first and go for the drone scout. This is actually ultra safe play coming out from the Rage Cage, because I mean, spawning pool first you do because you are afraid of your opponent going for some sort of forge first expansion, which it looks like just based on the mineral buildup is not actually going to be the case. It's going to be a Nexus first, but also sending out the early drone means that you're concerned about you know, your opponent going for some kind of crazy shenanigans with either cannon rushing or, you know, whatever. Even sometimes I've seen players go for Epoxy Dugate, etc. So the Rage Cage is playing it super safe. Azurix playing it a little bit more standard, I would say. Going for a relatively, you know, normal build, going for the Nexus first, then going for a Forge. It used to be considered greedy, but not so much anymore. I think that most Protoss players have figured out how to hold on to those Nexus first expansions against most Zerg player builds, except for some of those super duper early pools. Those can cause a little bit of trouble, but regardless, game is going to be picking up into the normal stages. Now, again, I want to note that Azurix was sitting at you know, comfortable 4-1, now sitting at 5-1 actually in the AHGL Season 4. And he won his first PvP last game. I don't actually know what his score is in PvZ, but still, if you're sitting 5-1, you've got to be a really strong player. So you can see that Chopper Trading is really looking to make this happen. And oh, look at this, actually. We have the Rage Cage sending out a lot of early Zerglings, and this is actually a really great identification. He sent out the early Drone Scout, and he actually also went for the early pool. So you know what? He said, I might as well send 4 Zerglings out across the map. And look at this. He actually managed to catch a Zerix who's playing a little bit great. He went for the Nexus, then Forge, and then Gateway. He didn't wait and try and build a photon cannon up. He actually went for the cannon last after he even get up the second pylon. This is actually super greedy play from a Zerix. And he's paying for it. Look at this. He's lost his cannon. He's lost his pylons, both of them. So now he's not only all beyond everything else. He would have been supply block, but he's been forced to have made this big wall in. And oh my god, if this pylon finishes up, there's literally not going to be anything around to potentially even try and defend this Nexus. These Zerglings could actually just try and kill off this Nexus. This could actually be the worst case situation possible. The probe could try and plant down some pylons to try and delay the Zerglings if they went after the Nexus. But at the same time, look at this. A ton of gas steel. What on earth happened? A bunch of gas steels going down from a Zerg. I don't even know what he was thinking over here. This could actually be a very, very weird situation. I think that he was trying to deny all of the gas geysers, but we end up seeing the Rage Cage get up one of them much earlier on, and he already has Zergling speed going up. So I feel like these gas geysers got thrown down, I mean, after the gas geyser for the Rage Cage got thrown down. So it's a really, really weird decision. Maybe he was trying to keep those units at home, trying to get additional scouting out, making sure that there wasn't a second gas geyser being thrown down for some kind of big roach all-in follow-up. But I mean, Azurix has already lost a substantial number of things. I mean, he's gotten up his Cybernetic score. He built his Cybernetic score before this gateway got killed. But I mean, he's lost so much. He's not mining at this natural expansion. And this is, again, I cannot emphasize this enough. This is for the cost of 4 Zerglings. This is not committal for the Rage Cage to actually do. He's still sitting up at a comfortable 30 drones. He's getting up Spore Crawlers and Spine Crawlers, actually 2 Spine Crawlers at his natural expansion, and a Spore Crawler and Mavis. Again, the Rage Cage is playing super safe. He knows now that he can play safe and still be ahead at this point, so why wouldn't you? He's only using like 2 Zerglings over at home to kill off these gas guys. He doesn't actually need these gas guys this early on. He's only just now going to be grabbing that second gas geyser. He's getting up the Roach Horn, more so I think for any kind of potential defense that he's going to have to do, and I would love to see him take a 3rd expansion at some point soon. He knows that there's still a natural expansion up for his opponent, even if it's not really being mined from just yet. He knows that it's there, and he's got to be expecting it'll be mined from relatively soon. Looks like it's actually not getting mined from just yet. Ooh, we actually have 3 gateways and a Stargate out. Now, is this going to be some kind of one base all-in with a fake-out Nexus that he just couldn't really defend? Or is he just getting up the units before he wants to start some mine? Is he just trying to play it safe and make sure he doesn't take any additional damage? I'm not entirely sure. This is a very weird situation, once again, for Team Chopper Trading. And Chopper Trading, again, they want to win this game. They need to win this game to make sure they don't get put into those FFAs. And Team Amazon is just pulling out all the stunts. Rage Cage making sure he's playing safe. He wants to make sure that he has the best possible score in moving into the playoff season so that people start to respect him a little bit. And oh, a double Stargate being thrown down for Azurix. This is a very, very interesting play. Now, okay, Azurix has been buying gas from his main base. He's gotten up 1 sentry, but for the most, taking out that pylon. Actually, depowered one of these. Oh god, he depowered one of the warp gates. That is really, really frustrating. That is unbelievably frustrating. Now, as I was saying, double Stargate, it's going to be a very interesting situation because he's going to start to mine for the natural expansion, but honestly, double Stargate, you kind of need at least 3 gas geysers mining to produce out of those triple Stargate, or double Stargates. We've had these gas geysers mining for a little while, so they're going to be building up a little bit of a bank. But again, he just doesn't really have the ideal situation. He's been able to constantly produce probes behind all this. Because, yeah, I mean, his natural expansion was denied. Oh, god, actually, Zerglin's running into the natural expansion now and actually doing a lot of damage. A Sentry's going to lose its life as well. And actually, a lot of Force Shields being used at the same time. The Zerglin's still taking out the Sentry. Another Sentry ends up falling. Another Sentry has to be warped in and lays down the Force Shield, traps a couple of these Zerglings. But now the natural expansion is under attack. And guess what? A bunch of Sentries got warped in. That's not very useful for dealing with these roaches sitting at the natural expansion. The Rage Cage, which is very, very small groups of units, is just doing an absurd amount of damage. The Stargates haven't even begun production. And we have 6 gateways on the way with no real mining natural expansion. That means that these 2 of these gateways are absolutely useless, potentially even, maybe even 3 of them if he's trying to produce out of that Stargate. The natural expansion is going to go down, and Azurix is just looking to be in an absolutely terrible situation. I cannot think of a worse situation for Azurix right now. Like, I actually cannot think of a worse situation for how this game could have played out. Because now we have a Hydral's Den. Spore Crawlers are already in the main base and the natural expansion, and a third expansion, actually. We have units denying a natural expansion for the ground forces to move out from Azurix. Azurix has more gateways and Stargates than he can actually produce out of. He's trying to Chrono Boost out +1 air armor. Oh god, but he's trying to move down, and now he's going to end up losing potentially one of those Zealots. He does manage to save it, and the Voider is going to be able to push these Roaches back. I guess that's one saving grace. But man, this is just like everything going wrong right now for Team Chopper Trading. Chopper Trading, it's going to be a very similar situation, actually, to how I felt the game number 3 between the Rage Cage and Uthman actually went. That ZVZ, where the Rage Cage, he just got this big lead, and he just constantly kept securing it. And it's going to be up to Azurix to try and find some way to come back in this game. And it's going to be really, really difficult, because I feel like this is actually 4 to 5 times worse of a situation for Azurix than it was for Uthman in that ZVZ. Because Rage Cage has higher army supply. He has a better economy, sitting at 51 drones, and GG gets called! Team Amazon gonna take the game, taking the series 3-2 in a very close series, and gonna push Team Chopper Trading into the FFA. So very well done by both of these teams. Honestly, some great games, and it was a really unfortunate situation how that last game kind of played out for Team Chopper Trading, because I don't think that it was just showing like, oh, Azurix is just a terrible player. But it's nothing like that. Azurix took a big risk going for the Nexus first. Then the Forge is also good. It lets you eventually get up that cannon. But then he went for the Gateway also, and he went for the second pylon, and then he threw down the cannon. And his opponent went for a spawning pool first, sent out the drone and saw what his opponent was doing, and just sent 4 Zerglings across the map and punished his opponent really, really hard with it. And it worked out beautifully. It was honestly just a matter of the Rage Cage plays safe, Azurix took a risk, and it didn't pay off. He got punished for it. He got punished for the risk that he took. And it cost him, his team that final ace match game. But he still, I think that he showed that he's a very good player in game number 4 when he defended in that PvP. And we saw some great games out of all the players today. And just go ahead and read off the list of the players that we saw. As Zimbaus managed to take that first game, number 1, in that PvZ against Undirected on Ultrazeme Stronghold. And then after that, we saw game number 2, where Divide by Zero faced off against Blastoise. Blastoise managing to, Divide by Zero was Team Amazon, and Blastoise was Team Chopper Trading. And they managed to actually secure that game, tying up the series 1-1. The Rage Cage in game number 3 managed to take the series as in that ZVZ on Frost against Uthman 2. And in game number 4, we saw Azurix tying up the series once again for Team Chopper Trading against Catfish in that PvP. And then finally, we saw that last game where the Rage Cage managed to secure that victory in the final deciding game for Team Amazon against Azurix from Team Chopper Trading. So Chopper Trading, again, they're not totally dead and out of not going to be able to qualify for the playoffs just yet. They are still sitting at 5-4 now. They were sitting at 5-3 before this match, and now sitting at 5-4. Amazon sitting at 7-2, and depending on how they do or how the other games in the group today went, then they could actually be sitting at either higher. I think they'll be at least at 3rd place. Team Amazon will. At worst, they will. Yeah, that'll be the worst case situation. 3rd place. They could actually be even higher now. Depending on how the other games went. But Team Chopper Trading, they were sitting at 5-3, now sitting at 5-4. And they still have an opportunity to play in those FFAs. So be sure to tune in for those. Those FFAs are actually a ton of fun to watch. But yeah, that's actually going to be it. So a huge thank you again to all the teams that played today. I want to give a shout out also to the charities that both these teams have selected. Amazon choosing Child's Play Charity, a great charity organization, as well as Chopper Trading choosing Big Brothers and Big Sisters, another fantastic charity organization. Guys, definitely support the After Hours Gaming League and those charity organizations if you're a fan of them. And of course, those teams who have put in a lot of time into playing out these games that we get to watch and enjoy, and enjoy that kind of corporate culture of a semi-sports league at StarCraft. It's a ton of fun, and I just really enjoy casting the After Hours Gaming League. So guys, thank you all so much for tuning in. My name is Fear Dragon. If you guys enjoyed my casting, please consider following the channel over here on twitch.tv/FearDragon64. If you're watching this live, I'm also going to be uploading this to YouTube, so if you're watching it there, you can follow me on Twitch, or you can also follow me on YouTube, youtube.com/FearDragon64. But that is actually going to be it. So, I just hopped into a game against, okay, sorry. My game just randomly decided to load Azurix versus the Rage Cage again. Rematch game. No, we're not actually going to do that, but that is actually going to be it. So that is actually going to be it for also the pre-playoff stage. So the divisions have been basically decided. You guys will be able to see on the AHGL site by looking at the team standings page to see who has been able to qualify for the playoffs, who has been able to nearly qualify for the playoffs and going to have to play in those FFA matches, those terrible FFA matches, and who was unable to qualify. So be on the lookout for that soon. That is going to be it. Once again, I want to give a huge shout out to Culture TV for all those map intros, those awesomely sick map intros that we saw earlier on today. And shout out to Husky by the Geek, not Husky Starcraft, Husky by the Geek, who's a YouTube artist. YouTube.com/Husky by the Geek has been playing all the music that I've been using for the downtime and stuff. But guys, that is going to be it. Thank you again all so much for tuning in. Have a wonderful time, and I believe that most of the players watching this are probably AHGL players, so best of luck in the playoffs or those FFA matches. Take care, guys.